Now we're going to talk about Lucky Larry, Towers 7, Building 7, pardon me. Take a look at this guy before we get to that and maybe appropriately, because this guy made a ton of money. Rather, he is known as somebody who should buy a lottery ticket every single day. So now he's recognized as a prominent New York State real estate developer. I should mention here, but he is a personal friend of Bibi Netanyahu, whose name just keeps coming up all the time, I'm telling you. A very connected person. This is Silverstein, connected to Israeli politicians. He's extremely loyal to Israel, also friends with other prime ministers, Ehud Barak. Well, guess what? He obtained the lease for the Twin Towers just 6 weeks prior to 9/11. He took out an insurance policy, which fortunately included coverage for acts of terrorism. So lucky that it included coverage for acts of terrorism, so that when it came time to collect, Silverstein claimed that there were 2 incidences of terror since 2 buildings had been hit by planes, which allowed him to seek for double indemnity. So he collected $4.5 billion from insurance on towers that he had invested in just 6 weeks earlier. I mean, I was pretty shocked when I looked into this. I checked. I was like, there's just no way. Nope. There's no debunking of that. That is an absolute fact. Now, they say that that doesn't imply that he had foreknowledge that this event was going to happen. And getting insurance is, in fact, normal. To be fair, it is normal to get insurance if you are going to take out a lease on these 2 buildings. And he also had some other investors that invested with him, and they all just got extremely lucky. And I'm talking super lucky, because beyond that, okay, so Larry Silverstein was known for spending every morning the exact same way in breakfast meetings at the World Trade Center. This is according to him. He spoke about this in various interviews. But fortunately, so fortunately for Lucky Larry, on the morning of 9/11, he decided, I'm just going to break this habit because I want to go see a dermatologist. And that's what happened. He skipped his normal breakfast meeting to see the dermatologist, which ended up saving his life. And that's not all. Larry also has 2 children who also worked in the World Trade Center and who also were running late on 9/11. So the entire Silverstein family survived and were therefore able to be alive when they collected that insurance money for that terrorist attack, which fortunately they had taken out a clause on in their insurance. So yeah, Lucky Larry. I mean, what are we going to make all of this? A lot of this has been memory hold. By the way, super weird video. I'm not sure if you've seen this. People sometimes, when you talk about Larry Silverstein, they'll say, "Pull it, Larry." And there's a reason for that. So Larry decided to sit down and do all of these interviews about 9/11 thereafter, because he's the person that owned these buildings. People wanted to hear from him regarding this terrible terrorist event. And he shared this story about how he was on the phone with the fire department because, it's really strange. If you examine the footage of Building 7 collapsing, have you guys actually seen that footage? You probably, maybe, I'm just going to jog your memory because, and by the way, don't listen to me. I am totally being conspiratorial here. It looks like it was a demolition. I mean, I've seen a demolition before. Look at this video of the building going down. Yeah, there you go. And then it just kind of collapses all at once. Yeah, that's a video. I'm actually going to show you a side-by-side because I'm just going, that really looks like a controlled demolition. Look at this side-by-side. That you don't even know which one is Building 7. That's just a side-by-side demolition and Building 7. So this obviously inspired tons of conspiracy theories, which were only furthered by this interview of Larry talking about how he told the fire department chief to pull it. Now I'm going to tell you what he says about why he said that. But first, let's listen to Larry Silverstein, Lucky Larry, in his own words.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
That's very interesting. A lot of things interesting. So here I go with common sense again. I hate this, but on a day like this, people running, screaming, being buried in rubble, looking for loved ones, fire department must have done received how many phone calls. And you're telling me that the fire commander thought to himself in this emergency, hey, I should call and get the opinion of the building owner on how to do my job. I don't know. That strikes me as weird. Maybe I'm not a powerful person in New York City, because I always imagined that, like, if my house was on fire and I wasn't there because I was at the dermatologist, conveniently, thank goodness, and it was just burning down, I just don't think that the fire commander would call me and say, hey, what's your opinion, man? It's just burning. And then I would say, like, yeah, pull it. Like, it's my job to direct the fire department how to do their job. It just seems weird that I would be in touch with them. Is that a normal thing? Maybe it is. Maybe this is a New York City thing. Weird. I was born in New York, and I just don't remember that, like, buddy thing. Like, here's who we call. Usually they do their job, and there was a lot going on that day. But apparently this guy thought, let me call the owner of the building and get his opinion on what we should do about Building 7. And so when Larry was pushed on this, like, why would you say pull it? By the way, in general, pull what? He was like, oh, I just meant, like, pull the operation. Like, he's saying, I meant let's not send any more fire department people. Let's not send any more firemen in there. We don't want any more loss of life. So pull them out, because, again, this would have been his decision somehow. That's what he meant. And then people looked into that story, and there were some holes, because the fire commander said that he never spoke to Larry. And there's one independent journalist named Luke Rutkowski who decided to confront Larry about his story not matching up with the memory of the fire chief. Take a listen.
This one's for Larry Silverstein. Last time we talked, sir, I asked you if you could address some of the 9/11 conspiracy theories that you're accused of. Sadly, your response has actually invited more of them. I mean, for the record, everybody knows your infamous comments on PBS where you said pull Building 7 on 5/25 on the day of 9/11.
They were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Your official response was that it was the firefighters. My question is, it was pretty clear that you meant the building, and if it was the firefighters, they already are outside the building by 12 because the water lines were broken.
Ask the question.
And the fire chief that you said you spoke to, Fire Chief Negro, denies talking to you on that day of 9/11. Can you answer those questions and address the theories against you?
I suggest everybody's consideration that we all look at the thousands of pages of testimony that have been rendered in the many years since 9/11, and let's use today's session for some of this.
Are you aware of testimony of bombs in the building before the building collapsed, sir? Are you aware of that testimony? Sir, there's testimony by Barry Jennings. Sir, you don't have to touch me. Listen, I'll walk away. All I'm asking is a question. I don't have to be kicked out. It's a legitimate question. You don't have to put your hands on me. But all I'm saying is, no, I'm not. I'm here asking. The question was not answered. That's why I have a grievance. Larry Silverstein was told not to come into work. That's why him, his daughter, and his son never showed up to work on 9/11. He put an insurance policy on the buildings. Reporters, do your job. Please ask some questions.
Well, obviously, Luke is crazy. It's inappropriate to ask questions. Larry really is just that lucky, just like tremendously lucky. And so what if he